we as financial advisors have the ability to go out and help people and slowly nudge them forward through that planning process. I call it the nudge. That I found there was no fear, there was no rejection. And if you take that mindset, you can, sure, you're going to have fear, sure, you're going to have rejection, but it's just irrelevant, and you put it aside.
So that's a very good question. And there are a lot of women who don't get in the industry even today because they get a bit afraid of the fact that it is really, it is a big boys club. There are a lot of women in the business, but I find that a lot of women leave very quickly because the challenges, trying to get ahead, and it's not an easy business. They do leave.
Here, I'm in my, mid 60s. So am I still relatable to that 30 something, 40 something, 50 something?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Step by Step Talks. Today, we have a very, very important person as our guest, and I would encourage everyone to stay right to the end and listen to what Duncan Robinson has to say to us. I've known Duncan Robinson for almost 2 decades now, and I do want to share with the audience that I have not met a person with so much tenacity and has faced so much rejection in his life, but being a tenacious person, managed to get through some very, very difficult times and challenging times in his life. When I first met Duncan, it was at work, and we were together at Freedom 55, and he had just joined as an advisor. But I cannot even begin to tell you how impressed I was at how Duncan actually, portrayed himself and came into a career that is so difficult. Now, I just want to touch a little bit on something that we're going to really focus on today before I introduce our guest, and that is rejection. Rejection, it's not the rejection of others that cripples us. It's when we reject what we know what to be very true inside of ourselves, our instincts of our own self. Now, Duncan's going to share with us, how he dealt with rejection. And when I talk about rejection, it's not just, personal rejection. I'm talking about rejection at work, rejection by people, rejection by the universe as well, which most of us don't seem to realize does happen. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our very prestigious guest, Duncan Robinson. Welcome, Duncan.
Good morning from Vancouver, Rohini. Really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. It's been a while since we've connected, but those memories come back in a nanosecond. At all the quality time we spent together working with the insurance company back in the early 2000s.
That's
Thank you.
that's right. Yeah, it was the early 2000s, right? And we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of challenges, but we went through them. And I think it's the tenacity that you have, that we have, that you shared with us, that also made us look at you and say, we're going to do even better. Nothing's going to stop us. So, Duncan, I'm going to go on, and I want you to tell our audience a little bit about your journey. What happened? The challenges you faced with, how you came through all these challenges. We need to share them with our audience because, everybody has a story, and everybody's story is unique, but it should be shared.
Thank you very much. It's you're completely right, and venturing into the the financial services business, you're going to be met with fear, rejection, but those characteristics, fear and rejection on the negative side, it zeroes into your what's your purpose, what's your passion. And I always try and use the word for anybody new coming into the business. What is your story? But with that story, are you relatable? Are you relatable to that story with the person you're sitting face to face with? And can they identify with you? Because everybody, in the financial services business, whether you're planning for risk or investments, e- everybody has, a place they want to get to. And what that client is looking at you or me just beginning in that business, they were looking at me as the mechanism vehicle to take them where they wanted to go, whether that, when I started out, I was in my mid 40s. 20 years later, I'm in my, mid 60s. So am I still relatable to that 30 something, 40 something, 50 something? If you really pay attention and you listen and you have the ability to communicate, and put in your words what their goals are, then you're relatable. And I always took that mindset, that framing, uh, you know, to heart. And it's especially difficult for guys to understand the emotions behind what that client wants to achieve. But if you're emotionally connected, relatable, then I found there was no fear. There was no rejection. And if you take that mindset, you can, sure, you're going to have fear. Sure, you're going to have rejection, but, it's just irrelevant and you put it aside because all of a sudden you're achieving their goals. Those, those little landmines, if you will get over. You'll get over those landmines, but all of a sudden you can achieve their goals. And as if you're communicating on their level, that human emotional level, then you're relatable. So that's, going in to the career, there was no fear, there was no rejection. I just forged forward because, listen, coming into the business, I had just gone through a pretty, pretty traumatic family situation. My son had just passed away from acute lymphocytic leukemia at the age of 14. Company I was working for was just going out of business, and my marriage relationship was falling apart as well. So it was like, the perfect storm. Like, how do you get up and get going again from that and have complete faith in this new career? You've been met with everything possible that could possibly go wrong. It was that perfect storm. So, put the blinders on, forge forward. There is no fear, there is no rejection. And, it was just a complete test. And I think I passed the test.
I think, Duncan, you're not being very, very honest with me today. Now, I want you to talk about how you went through the rejection because I know that one of your most important aspects in your life is looking after your health.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's as you go through those hurdles, those obstacles, those rejections, you need to really look after yourself because the mind up here, first of all, you can't control your mind. Mind is its own free will, but what you can do to the mind is put it in really good position to be able to, bring in those positive thoughts, those fears, and you can just put them aside. And I started out doing triathlons, in my mid 30s. So triathlon, if your audience is not familiar with it, you swim and you bike and you run, and you can do it at you know, basic level, which is a 1,500-meter swim, a 40K bike, and then you run a 10K, or you can elevate it to the extreme level, and it's the Ironman. Ended up doing 5 Ironmans, which is a 4K swim, 112-mile bike, and then you get off the bike and run a marathon, and that's all in one day.
Yeah.
And I'm really not telling you this to impress you,
Oh, no.
but impress upon you that's doing something. It's doing something. And, that fitness, that exercise changed my mindset that, listen, life is going to happen to each and every one of us. We all have our story. We all have those heartbreak moments, and that brings you back down to, Death Valley, if you will. So, but from Death Valley, you can climb back up to the top of the mountain, and that's really what I went through. Is that how do I get back up? Because now all of a sudden, I was at ground zero, and we're all familiar with ground zero, and where do you find the resilience? Where do you find the energy? Where do you find passion and purpose and that drive and determination mindset? But
Mindset.
it's having that healthy mindset and a healthy body, because life will happen. And I kind of coined my phrase, life happening to me, and I described it like this: life is perfectly imperfect, but that's a perfection of it. Perfect. You can't change that. But what you can change is what's going on up here. Remember what I said: the mind is free will. But all of a sudden, if you've got a healthy mind, then all of a sudden you can forge forward, because this is tough business.
Oh, very
It's a
true.
tough
I just
And when that client, sorry, when that client is looking directly at you, they're looking for faith in you, trust in you, that you can do the job for them. So going back to what I said, relatable, being that relatable person, forging forward with this mindset.
So, just for the sake of our audience, you have talked about the business. We are talking about the investment and insurance business and making sales and obtaining clients and building a network of really families that become a member of your family eventually, because it's such a personal business that you're in. So, Duncan, when you recently had the experience of talking in TED Talks, and during your talk, you had you had come up with a plan, or you had the four C's that you really go, you go back to all the time, because that's what has brought you where you are today. And for the audience sake, Duncan is a highly respected investment insurance agent in Vancouver, and has met many campaigns and competitions, MDRT qualifier and above, and so very respected field individual in the field. Can you share with us the four C's that you always relate to?
Thank you, Rohini. Yes, I did that TED Talk, and it was a TED Talk back in late November.
Right.
And the theme of TED Talk was vibrant, healthy aging. So I was talking to, a complete range of demographics, whether you go from 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And what I did say is that, if you want to be able to move forward in whatever career, whatever is going on, whether it's relationships, either with, your significant other, or even your kids, it's all this mindset up here, but it can't be controlled by, a over-the-counter prescription. I said, here's my prescription. And this prescription has worked for me for 40 years. And I refer to it as the four C's. And that actually came from strategic coach and Dan Sullivan. So I give him some credit for that. But the four C's, and the first C is this: it's commitment. Nobody ever likes that first C word, commitment, because all of a sudden that does mean you need to commit to something, and you have to be 150% all into the commitment. So I said, take fitness and commit to something, whether you're just starting out, maybe it's a walk around the block, but all of a sudden what happens, when it's pounding rain outside, it's 1 degree, because that happens up here in the north. What are you going to do? You got to continue to be committed, all in. And the second C was courage to find that commitment. You got to go outside. You got to
Going
go for
outside.
that walk, and kind of have to have these blinders on that says looking towards the big picture. And what is the end goal? Well, the end goal is to be healthy through life. So it was commitment and courage, and then
Comes the
finding
confidence.
new capabilities,
Mm.
as I related in that TED talk, and I was just starting out in triathlons, and I said to my brother, I said, I don't have a bike. So there's a bike store down the road. So you're going to have to find your own new capabilities. Maybe it's going out and doing yoga or Pilates, or buying a new pair of running shoes. You got to be you got to find the commitment, the courage, new capabilities, and if you go through that, and through that process, you're going to find yourself at a new level of pure confidence. And so commitment, courage, new capabilities, and then you find yourself, with this new energy because you've got a higher level of confidence. So I said, rather than over the counter drugs, I'm still not on, I'm on one prescription.
Okay.
That's a blood test.
Okay.
I'm 72 years of age now. And, most guys I know my age are, hardly walk,
Right.
can hardly move. So it's a commitment to yourself. It's a commitment to your family, because we only have, as we all know, one dance, one
One
chance
chance.
at life, and you might as well make it, a complete commitment to yourself to live with that vibrant, healthy aging.
No, definitely. You've got a very, very good point there. Like I always say, that, if there's no extra people on this earth, everyone is here for a reason. And if you're here for a reason, use your style, use your manner, but do something for the earth, and do it before you expire. And, do it right. I'm a big, person who believes in, if you want to do something, do it right, but do it quickly because time is short. Right. And with all the C's that you've said, once you've got all the tools, available, like you said, the 4 C's, take control of your awareness and involvement, disconnect and be sharp in what you're doing, and see what's happening all around you. Because when you can see what's happening around you, you can function in a better manner. A lot of people are walking in a tunnel syndrome. And it's because of rejection. I come back to that because you've got too much going on. There's a story. Everybody has a story, and they're just sort of focused on what's going wrong. But we need to step out. I think I've spoken to you before. Compartmentalization is so important. And I find that men can compartmentalize better than women. So learning how to compartmentalize, yes, I'm really honest, is very important for us, because we, as women, we've got so much going on around us that we, sort of tend to focus on what's, taking most of our time, but we need to put it into compartments so that we can, we can actually function forward and stop having the rejection of life hitting us from everywhere.
Really good points. But I wanted to ask you a question, Rohini.
Yes, Duncan.
As let's when we were kind of hanging out with the insurance company we were working for, you had just begun in the business, into the what I refer to as the boys club, because there were very, very few women back then who had ventured into this financial planning business, because men were supposed to be the the experts, for the family. Dad, the male of the family, ran the family. So to have a female come into the business, into this boys club, was really took a lot of courage. Maybe tell us a little bit, how you approached that, what your mindset was, and maybe a couple of the obstacles that you had to overcome.
That's a very good question. And there are a lot of women who don't get in the industry even today because they get a bit afraid of the fact that it is really, it is a big boys club. There are a lot of women in the business, but I find that a lot of women leave very quickly because the challenge is, trying to get ahead, and it's not an easy business. They do leave, right? Currently in Canada, there is a problem in North America that there are not enough women in the business. And, as men are passing on, the wealth is being transferred to the women, but women like to deal with women. So, we are also, encouraging women to join the business because times are changing. But when I did start, you're right, it was very hard. And I'll tell you something, I did feel rejection, a lot of rejection in every way. And just to go back to the word rejection, it was actually used the first time in 1415, and rejection meant throwback. And that's when I learned everything about rejection. It's throwback, but that doesn't mean that you have to fall on the, flat on your face and give up. You have to stand up and do it again. And I think it could be because a little bit about my past as well. I went through some handicaps when I was young, and I've learned, thanks to my mom, how to, she always said to me, you can do whatever you want, but whatever you do, do it the best you can. And I think that always stuck with me. So the challenges from childhood just continued, developed me into a stronger person. And when I did come in the business and I faced challenges, many challenges, and I'll give you an example. I was given, I think I've talked to you about it before, a men's watch as a prize, and said, okay, you give this to your husband. And I actually stood up and said, no, I'm not going to give this watch to my husband. You're going to get me a woman's watch. I did the competition. I won it. Why would I give this to my husband? Obviously, there was a lot of chaos, and, but I stood up. And, standing up is very important. Those times of men, being in charge and being responsible are gone. Women are very educated. Women have a lot to share. They should be given the fair share and chance to actually come and show what they can do. And in a lot of industries, you can see they're leading major industries in North America now. Women are running the organizations, and there's a lot of young entrepreneurs, young females who are coming along who have so much to offer. I think also that a lot of the culture is now changing because there are some, legal aspects that come into play if they're not given a fair chance, or if they're spoken to in a derogatory manner, which I was in many times, where I had to stand up and actually say, don't talk to me that way, or don't do that. That's not right. Not only with the managers or the management, it had happened with the advisors that I was training or bringing into the business. So yes, Duncan, you're right. But there's my motto has always been, you do not try. Either you do it or you don't do it. Either you will or you won't. And if you can't, you must. This clarifies and makes everything so clear and transparent in your life, and then you know how to move forward. Because if you always have that doubt at the back of your head, you will not move forward. Does that answer
That's
your
a
question?
really good,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
that's a really good mindset. It's, on the, take fear, rejection, and you overlay it with that mindset that you have. But you had some early challenges as well. And, I think those early challenges you had, your health challenges, physical challenges, really set you up for the mindset you have today. Tell the audience a little bit about your early challenges.
Well, I was born in Africa, in Kenya, and at that time, I have a twin sister. When she started walking, I was not walking, and my mom. We lived in a little town, and my mom had to take me to the main town to find out what was going on. And at that time, it wasn't properly diagnosed. But later on, I came to know that I'd actually had a stroke at childhood, and that caused me many challenges. It was a minor stroke. It was a TIA, but it still did affect me, and I had to work my way through it. Today, you couldn't probably not even see that I've had a TIA at birth, but when you see your siblings and your friends do better, they can do it so easily. I had to work twice as hard to get there. Now, having said that, though, Duncan, what I'm saying is that when you share stories with people who don't have a handicap or didn't have a problem, right? But when you share your story, it makes them stronger because they learn through you. People learn through your experiences. And that's why, these podcasts are there to learn through our experiences and say, go for it. Don't stop. Take the next step. But if you need help, contact Duncan, contact Rohini. We'll show you how. Am I right?
Oh, totally. I mean, what's your story? What's your story? What's my story? And to the audience out there, everybody has a unique story. If they're currently involved in this business, they can take that story, how they got into the business, and sit down with that family, with that business owner. And as I said earlier, be relatable. You can be relatable with your story because you're taking them on this journey to get to the place to retirement, to sell the business, but with proper planning and with somebody who is relatable, all of a sudden becomes a relationship of trust. And when you build that relationship with a deeper level of trust through your relatable story, all of a sudden you've got a client for life.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, and people must understand that they need to stop playing small with life. You have only a certain amount of time. So if you're going to play small and have every excuse available on the planet because you want to do this, but you cannot do it because this and because that and because of this, you're really wasting your time and you'll never achieve what you wanted, in life. And before you know it, it's too late. I mean, I can't even believe that, 60 years of my life have passed by, right? And there's not much time left. I mean, it gets smaller. Every minute passes by is not coming back, right? So
Well, you know, I, hold that thought. But part of that TED talk, I said this to the audience. Take your age today
yeah,
and how old do you think you might be when you're going to complete this life? And hold on to that for a sec. And take the age of your parents and how old they were when they passed away, or how old you think they will be when they will pass away. So pick an age. And I said, male, female. And somebody came up with the answer of mid 80s. So then I said to that person, okay, so you're, in your mid 80s, you're healthy, you're vibrant, living a healthy life, and you're in your mid 80s now. Why would you die? Why would you die? Like pick another age. So let's pick 10 years later.
yeah,
Say, okay, so now you're 95
okay,
and you're still vibrant and you're healthy. You're not moving as quickly, but you're still healthy. Why would you die? Pick another age. And they said, okay, okay, okay. Now I'm, almost 100, so you can get to a ripe old age and still be vibrant and healthy and full of life. So Rohini, even though you're 60 today, you said, most of my life is gone. No, you've still got all kinds of amazing things to happen in your life as you live this vibrant, healthy aging process.
oh, definitely. I'm not saying that, no. Yeah, definitely, I'm intending to go on as far as I can. Yeah, but life happens, so enjoy it every minute, right? That's
Well,
the
life happens, and we know so many people because we are in this business, and something happened, and they didn't have the proper planning in place. So, you know,
yeah,
we as financial advisors have the ability to go out and help people, and slowly nudge them forward through that planning process. I call it the nudge,
yeah,
and it's a continual nudging process. You're not going to achieve the entire plan today, but baby steps, little baby elephant steps will take that person a long way. And they totally appreciate us and you and what we do to help them, in this life longevity planning process in getting to a future point in time.
definitely, definitely. And I'll tell you one thing, Duncan. I've got, while when I had my businesses in British Columbia, I had a lot of women who joined my organization. In fact, we had the largest United Nations group of women, that's what we called ourselves, who started the business and are still in the business and doing extremely, extremely well because they understood, the steps that need to be taken. That, definitely needs coaching. You do need to coach people because you cannot just get into becoming an advisor without coaching or training or the steps that need to be used on a daily basis. For example, I'll tell you that um, in my journey I've realized that you need to have a coach, and a coach is an important person in your life. And I think a coach, even just for general life, is not a bad thing to have. A coach is a person who's achieved something that you want to do, can show you the steps of where you want to move forward. Many people confuse coach and mentor. Mentor is somebody who's got a lot of experience in life and has led different kind of businesses but can mentor you, which is very important as well. So diving into something new and not knowing what you're getting into, it's better to be prepared, coming in prepared, and then you will have far more chances to succeed. Whether it's even riding a bike, I mean, you need to know how to ride a bike, or even running. There's a methodology in everything that you do. It's better to learn it before. You just can't start doing it and then just say, okay, I know how to run. And I think you know that better than anybody else. The next thing that I really focus on is image. create an image of who you want to be. Take 5 words of that describe you. More, you could say inspiring, motivating, empathetic, and keep repeating them to yourself so that you actually do become that way. Change your image so that other people can appreciate who you are. And you've just talked about health. Health is so important in what you've said. And health in keeping fit, having that cortisol level come up a little bit, not to harm you, but enough to keep you going, right? Learning the art of networking. It's so important to know what networking is. I had so many people who used to, I come across a lot of people, I network every weekend. No, you don't. You're sitting with your neighbors every weekend having a barbecue. That is not networking. Let us show you the art of networking. And Duncan and you and I can both relate to that. You were such a big part of Ronald McDonald House when you were, I think you still are, right?
Yes, I am, and that was a result of the process that Michael went through. So Ronald McDonald House is a place where kids and families can go if they want to stay close to Children's Hospital. Michael also went to this children's hospice here when we knew that life was going to be completed. So I continue to do work with those organizations. But I said, to myself, how do I, what step could I take in order to talk to people who would be more that influential person in our community, or think about if you're listening in on this, who you could speak to who is a leader in the community. So I developed my public speaking skills and ended up speaking at gala dinners with 700 people in the audience. And you get up there without notes, speak for 5 to 7 minutes, have those hard words and soft words and power pauses that allows people to say, you know what, that person I am relatable to because he is involved with this common cause. And at that point, it was Ronald McDonald House. But it doesn't matter. It's all about being that, coming back to this relatable person. And all of a sudden, good in the community because we do, each and every one of us do good for the community and reach out through the ability to be relatable and the ability to communicate,
Exactly.
listening to what those clients really want. I wanted to go back to, what you said about health and wealth. And, as I ended up that TED talk, I said, today, if you really consider, here we are trying to develop the wealth for that client. But I'll say to my clients, we've developed this wealth for you, but look at you. Look at you today. You're only in your mid 70s, but you're having some real challenges just moving. So I want you to adopt, health is wealth.
Yeah.
Without the health, you have no wealth.
No, definitely.
It's,
Yeah.
so it's taking steps, going back to my prescription of the 4 C's: commitment, courage, new capabilities, and developing a higher level of confidence. Adopt that prescription formula, and health really will be your wealth.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And to do all these, to make all these changes, you need to set goals. So I'm just going to touch on, a little bit on setting goals, because what happens is many people set goals and they don't make their goals, but then they just give up, right? I mean, you didn't get to where you are today, or neither did I, without setting goals. We had a goal. You started running, you did, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 15, 20, and so on, right? And then, and maybe you had a bad day one day, but you did not give up. So, to the audience, I want to say, goals are like time. Time is not linear. Time is cyclical. So goals, you can reset and set them all the time. And when you don't make a goal, treat it as experience. But get started back, get back on your feet again and get going again. Because everybody, I know I failed in some goals. I'm sure you have, Duncan, but you always stood up and went back again, didn't you?
You're always tweaking your goals. I use, the metaphor of a marathon. So a marathon is 42 kilometers. So can't just go out and run 42 kilometers. You have to train both your mind and your body to be able to run 42 kilometers. And if you want to run it at a competitive level, then all of a sudden you need to tweak it up even more. So we have different levels within financial services. I got attracted to the $1 million roundtable. So MDRT is the entry level. Then it's what's referred to as core of the table, and then top of the table, and that's the upper echelon of the upper echelon.
Yeah.
So it's 1% of the 1%. So I, wanted to ratchet myself up there. On the marathon side, I wanted to break 3 hours, and less than 1% break 3 hours. And, there were 3 times I came so close. Finally, I broke through in the Vancouver Marathon and ran a time of 2:56. Not telling you that to impress you,
No, it is
but
impressive.
impress on you that if you
So
really
what?
set the goals and continue to be committed to that process, whether it's in this business or your physical goals, eventually with persistence and patience, determination and drive, we all achieve our goals. But goals are fundamental to any level of success.
Exactly, exactly. We all know we have to turn right, but we keep turning left. So my message to the audience is, you know what? Take the right direction. You know what the right direction is. Well, that was wonderful, Duncan. I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to talk with you. If the audience wants to get in touch with you, Duncan, where do they get in touch with you?
I think the website will be at the bottom of the talk, but it's www dot duncanrobinson.ca or Duncan at achievewealthcanada.com or www.achievewealth.ca.
That's fantastic. So, I really want to thank you very much, Duncan. Your talks today were very inspiring, and like I said, you're the most tenacious person I've ever met, and I'm so glad and honored to have you as a friend. So, thank you very much for watching Step by Step Talks again. If you want to get in touch with me, please go to www.stepbysteptalks.com, and I will answer you personally and confidentially. If you need to contact me any faster, there's a phone number that you can get in touch with me. And I'm available for leadership talking, motivational speaking, coaching, and we have a very good program for any sort of business that you may want to get into. And I see Duncan pointing out at me. So, Duncan, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you very much, Rohini. I had one last thought, especially for the women watching this, because you mentioned it a few minutes ago. The wealth will transition over to women. So I think there's an incredible opportunity for women in this business. For the women in the audience, what would you say to them that are kind of on that tipping point of really getting committed to getting back to you? What are some words of wisdom that you can share with those women listening in today?
Take the first step. Take the first step. Nothing happens until you take the first step. You don't know. So stop feeling afraid. And even if it's not for you, you will learn so much and you will never go wrong in your finances. That's what I found. I started the business thinking I wouldn't be there. And you know what? 20 years later, I own my own company. So, I thought I'd be there for a short time and I'd be gone. But once I got in and I saw, it was a fun business. It was hard. It was challenging, but the rewards are endless. And the amount of people you help and what you're giving to the world is unbelievable. The universe, really. So, helping people, at the time of their desperate need, and you're there, and you're the first person they call. It's a very, very rewarding feeling. So take the first step is my message to everybody.
Thank you so much, Rohini. It's really an enduring business, and you get so much gratification out of this business by just taking some level of commitment. So thank you for the opportunity today, and look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Okay, great, Duncan. Thank you so much. Have a super day. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Rohini.
Bye.